welcome to the very first Varsity TV Sideline Report.
Woo, first one.
First one. We've been working on this, I feel like, forever. So long. But I'm excited to get it started. So the Varsity TV Sideline Report is going to be our new monthly podcast where we talk all things cheer and dance.
All the things.
And each month we're going to have a special guest in where we dive deep into some of these topics and, talk about everything from game day traditions to coaching tips to the role of a cheerleader and stuff like that.
Yeah, so much fun. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm really excited that it's finally here.
Yeah. So before we get started, just a little bit about us and some of our cheerleading background. I cheered at West Lauderdale High School for 4 years. That's where everything got started, Go Knights, where I was really formed into, the cheerleader that I was. And then from there, I moved on to cheer at the University of Alabama for 4 years on the Coed team. Love my Bama team. They'll always have a special place in my heart. And then I also cheered on the U.S. National Coed team for 4 years. So
casual U.S. national team. I was not as talented as Millery, but I cheered in high school at Southwestern High School in Somerset, Kentucky. Cheered there for 4 years before moving on to college. Still in Kentucky, I cheered at Morehead State University, and I was a part of the all-girl team there.
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles. Yeah, love my college. Love them so much. But yeah, so cheered all through college and then kind of decided that I wanted to take my degree in journalism and continue with cheer, but on a different side of the mat, and be reporting and doing this with Varsity TV.
Yeah, same. So I majored in journalism also, and it was like the perfect mixture between what I wanted to do in my professional career and kind of put it with something that I love. So for all of you journalism majors out there, sports broadcasting, just give us a call if you ever, want to work with us. I'm sure we can find a project for you and, get started. So.
And with the Varsity TV Sideline Report, we want you to be a part of the conversation too. So you can use the hashtag VTV Sideline Report to send in any questions you have. Let us know if you have a coach that you want us to talk to, a guest you want us to bring on, and we can't wait to hear what you have to say. So be sure to use that hashtag and give us a shout out.
Yeah. And so every month we are going to be shining a light on teams on and off the mat. So this month for my skill spotlight, I want to shine a light on, are you ready for it?
Yeah.
Morehead State University Coed.
Go Eagles.
They posted this video on social, on Instagram, and they are already rippling up solid double ups.
I know.
It's
I'm
November.
So excited.
It's November. And just seeing teams do this outside of the D1A division, you see all the D1A teams do these incredible skills, but seeing a team outside of that division do skills this hard and executing them so well this early, that's incredible. And if there's going to be a team to do it, it's going to be Morehead State Coed.
I know.
Amazing.
Reigning champs right now, so they've got a lot to live up to this season. It's so excited to see them looking this strong this early.
I know.
Just from my experience, it's kind of taken the Coed team a little bit longer every year to kind of build that chemistry and get it together. The all-girl team normally starts off really strong, but Coed kind of has to work together and find that rhythm. So to see them already looking this strong and hitting skills that I don't think they've ever competed a full squad of. So to see them doing that this early is really exciting.
I can't wait to see them in January.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see that they're doing that well, and I'm a proud alumni.
Oh, yeah. Go Eagles.
Go Eagles. So Millery's Skill Spotlight shines a light on teams and the skills, of course, and what they're doing on the mat. But what I am going to be doing is shining a light on the teams off the mat. So this is what we're going to call the off the mat MVP. Right? I like that.
Oh, yeah.
And this month, our off the mat MVP goes to Oak Ridge High School out in California for everything that they are doing to raise awareness for breast cancer research.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so they had a pep rally in a game where they were all dressed up in pink and they were raising money for breast cancer awareness. And they actually had a teacher at their school that is a 3-time breast cancer survivor.
That's incredible.
Yeah, doing big things. And I mean, who doesn't love to wear pink on game day? So that's
and not just on Wednesdays. But all the time.
All the time. That's what October was all about. So it was really cool to see that all month long. And big shout out to Oak Ridge High School.
That's awesome. Cool.
And, without further ado, we're going to talk to our very first guest that is none other than Bill Seeley.
Oh, wow. I love Bill.
Bill, in case you don't know, he is the president of USA Cheer, the president of Varsity Spirit. He is on the board for the USASF, and of course, he was also a national champion at George Mason University.
He did all the things.
All the things. So, coaches, I really think you're going to love this interview with Bill. We talk about the role of a cheerleader and, what it means to just be an ambassador for your school and your university. It's so much more than what you do on the mat and on the sidelines. And it's really about what you do in your community. Yeah. So,
well, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Let's hear from him.
And we're here with Bill Seeley, the president of Varsity Spirit. Bill, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Leanza. Good to see you.
To see you. So I think what the people want to know is kind of how you got into cheerleading and how you got here today.
Wow. Okay. So how did I get into cheerleading? This is a long time ago. I started college baseball, and I transferred my freshman year to my school that kind of pulled me into cheerleading, and I had to sit out. In NCAA back then, the transfer rules were when you transfer, you had to sit out a year, and then you could pick up the following year. And so during that year I was sitting out, 2 girls came up and said, "Hey, you look like you're an athlete. You want to, come out for the cheerleading team?" And I was like, "Well, I'm not going to be a cheerleader." And they ended up talking me into going out for the team, and I went out. And so back then, they did tryouts. They did in the morning. They did their session where they taught everything that you needed to know for the team to make the tryouts, and then you tried out after lunch. And so I went that morning, and I was like, I learned the fight song, which was horrible, and they taught me how to do a jump, which was laughable, and I'll talk about that a little bit. And then, but I picked up the stunts, and I picked up a back handspring that morning, which was terrifying. They're like, "Oh yeah, just throw your hands over," and I said, "Can you do one for me?" And they did one. I was like, "Okay," and so then I did it, and they were like, "Whoa!" And I was like, "That wasn't that hard." So we go take the lunch break, come back, and we do the tryout. And so I have to go out, and they have the panel of judges up there, and I have no idea what to expect, what to do. It's all brand new to me. I'm like 3 hours into this journey. And I go out and I do my fight song, and I probably missed like every motion I could possibly miss. And then they said, "Can you do the jump?" And so I did my jump. I'm not flexible at all. And so, I probably got good height, but legs were bent. Everything was probably janky as janky could be. And it was horrible. And I saw the judges kind of lift their sheets up, and they were going, you could see their couldn't see their faces, but I could see their shoulders, and I was like, they're laughing at me. And so they go, and then they put their things down, and they said, "Can you do it one more time?" And I was like, "Oh, they're gonna make fun of me."
Now that I feel good about it.
Yeah, this is great. Yeah, okay. So I said, "Sure, I'll do it." I'm not a shy person, so I said, "Sure, I'll do it one more time." And I didn't care if I made the team or not, right? I was there for college baseball. So I run up to the judges' stand, I jump up onto the table, and then I jumped off the table, and I did my toe touch off the table, and then ran back, did my stunts, did my back handspring, and headed off. And then we went back later on that day. They put the so again, there for baseball, and they talked my roommate into going out for the team as well, also there for baseball. And so they post the results inside the Coliseum facing out, which is where, and this is a Sunday, which is where our baseball coach's office is.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, terrifying. And so I'm like, so we got the girls call us, and they go, "Come on, let's check and look and see if you made the team." And we're like, "We didn't make the team." And they're like, "Well, just come with us." And we're like, "Okay." So we went with them, and sure enough, names are on the sheet, and doors are locked, and we're like, "Oh my gosh, we've got to get this off. This can't be public." And so our baseball coach is going to kill us. So anyway, we had to go back to our apartment. This is before cell phones. Year before cell phones. No, just kidding. It was well before cell phones. So we go back and dial up the phone and call the coach and the cheer coach and said, "Hey, you've got to take this off. We're here for baseball. Our baseball coach is going to see this list, and he's going to be infuriated." And she said, "I tell you what, when do you have to report for fall baseball?" And we said, "In August 15th, 16th, somewhere around there." And she goes, "Well, we're going to camp August 4th. If you promise you'll go to camp with us August 4th, then I'll take it down." And we're like, "Deal." And so anyway, we went to camp August 4th. It was at Virginia Tech back then, and we got there, and it was like, wow. we watched the opening demo. We were like, man, this is cool. We were in partner son class. We got to hang out with really pretty girls. This is not a bad thing to be a part of. So anyway, that's how I got started into cheerleading, and always thought I was going to be a professional baseball player. And here I am, a professional cheerleader. God has a great sense of humor.
So would you recommend the jumping on the table as a tryout tactic?
It gets you higher, it gets your vertical significantly higher than just going off the ground. So I added, 36 to 42 inches immediately when I jumped off the table. So
you cheered throughout high school and then went on to cheer in college at George Mason. So kind of tell me about that.
Yeah, no, just cheered at George Mason. Yep, just in college. In high school, I was football, basketball, baseball. I was on the ski team. And I did track, so I was a 5-sport athlete, and I went to 4 different high schools in 4 years. My dad was military.
How was it going from all of those sports to cheerleading?
It's interesting, and people, it's one of the misconceptions that I had going into it was that wasn't very athletic, and boy, was I wrong. So all of the sports just have different kind of skills that are associated with them. All of them require, hard work, dedication, discipline, all of those things. And so I got to cheerleading, and I was like, wow, it was really hard. So the partner stunts and the tumbling, and like I said, I'd never mastered the jumps. Could not do it. It's just not in my DNA. I'm just not flexible enough. But it was challenging. And then, the interesting part of cheerleading, especially co-ed cheerleading, is in sports in high school and all your other sports, if you really think about it, you're not really participating co-ed. Even boys and girls track, you're not doing it with that person. And so learning how to interact with girls who are different, they have different interests, they approach things differently than most guys do in general. And so that part of it to me really was interesting. I was like, wow. And so you had to learn how to interact with your female teammates, which was different than how you would interact with your male teammates. And so that dynamic, was completely different than any of my other sports, but it was really interesting.
So what part of cheerleading do you think kind of hooked you then and kept you going through it all these years? What keeps you coming back?
Yeah. So great question. For me, I love the athleticism, and I love obviously sports person. I love to compete, but the part that really was that once I got through, I think I appreciated this more after I graduated than I did when I was in the middle of it. When I was in the middle of it, I loved kind of the athleticism of it. But I found myself in these situations as I was going through college that I never found myself in when I played baseball in college. So, example was when they opened up the Patriot Center at George Mason University. We were invited to the president's house. And with all the big donors that helped make the Patriots Center possible, so we were asked to represent the student body and the sports athletic department to these really powerful alumni, and I'm sitting there and I was going, my gosh, I'm a 20-year-old kid, and I'm sitting here interacting with these presidents of companies, and it just I was like, wow, I would never have had that experience had I not done cheerleading in college. And so those things, being out in front of a crowd and leading a crowd, is something that you don't do in other sports. That's totally unique to cheerleading. And so that environment that you're responsible for creating in part is it's really interesting.
Yeah, you're so much more than just, a sideline athlete. You're at these pep rallies, you're at these, alumni dinners and stuff like that. So you really get to do a whole lot more than I think people really understand. And what the role of what a cheerleader should do.
Yeah, and that's, it's one of the things that we try to do now is to teach young people, whether they're in high school, middle school, or college, how vital this role is. And not only that, the skills that you develop doing these other things prepare you to be a major executive. You have to learn how to interact with a crowd that may want to go in one direction, and it's your responsibility to kind of lead them in another direction. You're out there networking, and you're an ambassador for a brand. It's your school brand. So you're responsible for representing your school in the community, amongst the alumni, amongst donors. And that's it's a weighty responsibility. So you have to be able, the skills you develop doing those things are skills that you're going to be able to take beyond cheerleading and into your professional pursuits.
And now that you get to, kind of work with cheerleaders all around the country, what are you telling them so that they know that they are so much more than just an athlete?
Yeah, so that's the big debate, and everyone gets so passionate about it, and I understand it. People, they say, is cheerleading a sport? And, in general, you could say, yeah, it's unbelievably athletic. Like I said, probably the most athletic thing I participated in.
Absolutely.
Football, basketball, baseball, track, skiing. Having to work with another person and throwing them up and catching them in positions is unbelievably challenging, unbelievably athletic. So if anybody looks at cheerleading and says, well, they're crazy, right? It's extremely athletic. But what we try to communicate is there's really a lot more to it than a typical sport. Not taking away anything from other sports, but their focus is just on competition. All they do is compete. Right? So baseball teams, football teams, basketball teams, volleyball teams, their sole focus is competition. And in cheerleading, school-based cheerleading, not all-star, club is different. Their focus is competition. And again, that's great. There's a space for that. But school cheerleading, you have competition, but you only compete really one time a year, one weekend a year. The rest of the time, 95% of the time, you're the ambassador for your school. You're the crowd leader. You bring the crowds to life at the game, and you create the environment that really people want to be a part of, and it's why they go to the live venues. Otherwise, they'd watch it at home. You're certainly athletes. You're certainly entertainers as part of that. And then, again, the brand ambassador part of it is unique to cheerleading, and it's something that they do. And so when we talk to the kids at camps, is helping them understand the value they provide. And we did a white paper several years ago, and we had this idea. We thought, where school spirit's high, I bet student achievement's high. And it was kind of just tribal knowledge for us. It was just kind of an assumption. But we hired a polling firm to do this nationwide poll with us. And 92% of principals said when school spirit is high, student achievement's high. 91% said when students have high school spirit, they're more apt to be leaders. They're more apt to graduate on time. They're more apt to go on to college. They're more apt to be leaders in their community. And so helping young people understand the unbelievable value they provide back in the schools to help create this environment where it really engages the student body and the community, and it's kind of, they're these great connectors that create a unbelievable school spirit inside the schools, and because that school spirit is high, student achievement's high. So the impact, and helping them understand the impact they can make inside their own schools, is really what we try to emphasize at our camps and our competitions now with game day.
Yeah, back to what you're talking about, cheerleading is so much more than a sport. I know when I was in college and high school, people would say cheerleading's not a sport, and I didn't always know how to answer that. So, from your perspective, how do you want, these college athletes to answer when they say cheerleading's not a sport? How do they come back with that?
Yeah, well, again, I think you just said it. It's really more than a sport. Sure, we compete, we're athletes, we have all of those things, and a lot of the colleges, the athletic departments treat them like the other athletes. They get early registration, they get access to training rooms, they get all of those things, but they have a lot more responsibility. So they're putting in 20 hours a week, and it's not just August to November. It's not just a season; it's all year long that they're going. And so from a college perspective, you're more than that. Sure, you compete, right? But again, like you said, it's once a year. And so what happens if you don't embrace the role of what you're responsible for in your school, actually cheerleading contracts, less people participate, and athletic departments will start eliminating. We get contacted all the time from major colleges saying, hey, our cheerleading programs focus too much on competition. And so let me talk about that for a second. So when competition becomes the focus and it's all they want to do, it changes everything. So we talked about the 5 roles of the cheerleader loosely. So you've got the primary responsibility is crowd leader, spirit raiser. So all the traditions and the connections, the pep rallies out of the thing, they kind of build the excitement around the upcoming game day. They're the ambassadors, right? And they're athletes and they're entertainers. So those are the 5 kind of focus points. So when you do your tryouts, you select people who, sure, they're athletes, but they've got to be able to be leaders. They have to be able to communicate. They have to be able to get in front of their peers. They have to have this confidence level that a general athlete doesn't need to have. It's more than that, right? So your practices, you practice different things. So if you cheered at Morehead, you had to do pep rallies. So you had to practice those at your practice. It was different than just doing the skills, right? Same at George Mason, University of Texas, Alabama, all of those schools, they have other responsibilities that they have to prepare for at practice. So it changes how you prepare. It changes what you do. They do pep rallies. No other sport does pep rallies. Okay. At the games, we're not the focus of the game. We create the exciting environment around the game. And then we're out in the community. Sports aren't in communities like we are. Like I said, I played college baseball. I made 0 public appearances. 0. Okay. At George Mason, I can't even count how many times we were out in the public. It was unbelievable. And so that affects everything. All right. Now, when you take competition and you move it to the center and that becomes your focus, well, then who are you selecting at your tryouts?
Just athletes with skills.
Just athletes with skills. And so what are you doing at your practice? Because your focus is competition, all you're working on are your athletic skills. And so what happens, injury rates start to tick up a little bit at schools, and you're picking just the elite athletes, and they may or may not be good in front of a crowd. And so then your alumni start to notice, and then all of a sudden you stop showing up at pep rallies because that gets in the way of your competition preparation. And so when you stop showing up for pep rallies, then the whole spirit raising and the excitement about coming to game day starts to wane, and then school spirit starts to go down. And then when you're at the games, you may be present at the game, but you don't know how to interact with the crowd at the game because you just care about focusing on the competition part of it. And so then it's a downward spiral. Every single time this, competition centers into the focus area, it negatively impacts school cheerleading. And so college athletic directors will call us all the time, said our team's too focused on competition. We want to be all about game day and blah, blah, blah. And so helping young people understand that responsibility, it's something that we can never rest at because obviously as athletes we gravitate towards the art of our athleticism. And so connecting everybody to the role of it is really important for us. And so you have traditional cheerleading, club cheerleading, which just focuses on competition, and that's fantastic, right? Kids love doing that, and if that's all they want to do, then that's great. There's other kids that want to do just school cheerleading. There's some that do both, and they know how to, make that transition. And then what we did in early 2000s is we launched a new sport to satisfy Title IX derived from cheer called stunt. And so we launched that for the kids that are, at the college level, high school level, that just want to compete and want to compete for their schools. There's now stunt where 2 teams go side by side and they compete against each other. So it's just like a typical sport. Their focus is competition, and they keep score. Score goes up, 2 points, 4 points, and your scores end up like 17 to 15. So it's not like traditional cheerleading scoring. It's more like typical sports scoring.
Yeah. Got a place for everybody.
That's right.
But I know, talking about the different roles, I get asked all of the time now since I was on UCA to what I do now by coaches, not by coaches, but by parents and athletes. And they say, do you have any tips for tryouts? I really want to make this team. And I think the number one thing that I tell them every single time and that they're always kind of surprised by is you need to be able to talk. You need to be able to answer an interview question. You need to know something about the university you're trying out for because you can land your full 10 out of 10 times, and that's great. But if they can't send you, to an alumni dinner and be confident that you're going to be able to present yourself and, present your university, like, you're going to have a less chance of making this team. So, being able to talk and be that ambassador is so important to kids trying to make teams.
Yeah, it is. And then, to my earlier point, those values that you just talked about, those skills that you just talked about, those are the skills that will last them forever, right? That full is going to go away 3 years, 4 years after they last competed. Yeah, right?
Absolutely.
So those athletic skills wane quickly after you get out of the habits, right? But those communication skills, see, you're still, look at you, you're on television now. But your communication skills, I remember when you went through high school. And you had those communication skills then, and now you've been able to take those to a new level, and it's part of your professional career, and you're on this upward trajectory because of the skills that you learned in cheerleading.
Yeah, definitely being in front of a crowd of thousands of screaming fans teaches you to not get so nervous in front of people.
Yeah, right.
What do you think what you learned in cheerleading, what characteristics do you really think that, you brought with you into your career today?
Yeah, great question. There's so many things that it teaches, so all the same things that typical sports, I love sports, just the discipline of getting up every day, working really hard to improve yourself, whether athletically or personally. It's just part of sports in general, having to work with teammates and having varying opinions and learning how to appreciate what other people bring to the table is a huge takeaway for me from cheerleading. Working with the opposite sex in cheerleading and understanding what's important to them and how to interact there has been great for me. You've got standing up in front of a large crowd, speaking in public. I was terrified about speaking in public. I was terrified about speaking in public. And, you talked about, the interview and, I could do one-on-one, but I hated getting up in front of people. But the more I got out there, the easier it became. And that fear started kind of falling away. And so, public speaking was something that was great. Networking people and encouraging people, to improve, which I think is, there's these situations I'm like, we're losing by 30 points. My first year I was going, why are we still doing this? Really? But there was like this belief deep down inside my teammates. They were like, we can do this. And I was like, okay. But then you start learning how to kind of bring the crowd, because if we would stop, the crowd would stop. And so when you're a leader in your business, right, you have to, there's times where it's hard and you have to turn it on, whether you believe it or not. If you bring that level down, fake it, right? Fake it till you make it. And so that skill that I learned in cheerleading was, okay, I can't bring my energy level down. If my energy level comes down, everyone that follows me's energy level comes down. And so I need to keep my energy level up. I need to drive, help drive results, encourage people along so they can develop their skills. So I think those are all things that really I've got from cheerleading.
You've seen it grow so much. You mentioned stunt. You mentioned game days now at the competition level as well. So what are you most excited about what's going on in cheer now and the future of it?
Yeah. So I don't know that. I think I don't know if I'm unique in this or not, but I love cheerleading, love the activity. I think it's great for young people, and that's what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about providing outlets for kids to succeed. And so, if you look at cheerleading, for example, we now have 3 disciplines. We don't want it to be so elite that it prevents kids from participating. So, we created, we had school grew outside into All-Star, and then we created stunt, which gives us 3 disciplines that kids can participate in, and it grows the number of kids participating. When kids are involved in student activities, they do better in life. They feel connected, which nowadays is a problem in our schools. And so getting more kids engaged. So I want to do that in cheerleading as much as I can. So we have the 3 disciplines. We have cheerleading growing around the world. I remember walking backstage at our World Championship, and there was a gentleman from Africa. I think he was from Madagascar, and he was there just to watch because they just started cheerleading. And I was walking with Jeff Webb, the founder of Varsity, and really the founder of modern day cheerleading. And I was walking with him, and this gentleman came up and grabbed Jeff and said in English, he goes, "I want to thank you so much for what you have created. It has changed my daughter's life."
Wow.
It blew me away. I was like, that is unbelievable. And so you think about this opportunity, this activity that we have, that we love. So I want to create more of them. So we want to grow it globally. We want dance to continue to grow. It's had some problems, and then we're getting ready to get into the band space. So we want band to be a part of this. You know, they're the third piece. They're such a big part of the school spirit component, and that creating that environment at schools. And so we want to do the same thing we've been able to do in cheerleading in band, and really help grow it and come alongside and help create this great environment for kids across America's high schools. So that's why I do it. I do it to help benefit young people.
And I think we're going to see a lot more of band being included now with the new Game Day Live division at the UCA National High School Cheerleading Championship. So I think we've been seeing it a little bit at the college level. So to see, these high school bands be involved with the cheerleaders, I think that's going to be a really exciting thing to see moving forward.
And the crowd loves it. And, seeing the band and dancers and cheerleaders all working together on the sidelines and creating this environment in a competition format. Mm-hmm. And, the audience responds to it. It is so cool. And then and they're able to do those are the things. So that's what they do back at their schools. So take those things and just drop it in, and and it's our opportunity. They think about the time they're serving their school. 95% of the time, it's about other people. It's about the students. It's about the community. It's about the other team. Your home football team. It's about you serving others. And so you get to the end of the season, and it's your turn to shine. And so we love being able to prop them up and give them an opportunity to be on Varsity TV and ESPN and hold them up for the unbelievable young people that they are.
And if there's one thing I know about cheerleaders is they love to show off. So it's going to be an exciting time to see that this year. Well, Bill, thank you so much for joining us today and kind of chatting about the future of cheerleading.
Well, thank you.
Wow, Bill is incredible. I loved hearing all of his stories and just everything that made him who he is today.
Yeah, it was so fun to talk to him. I've known Bill for a while, and I've heard about all the things that he's done in cheer, but to hear his story about how he actually got started in cheerleading, the toe touch off the desk is so classic. Incredible. Yeah, it was so funny to hear that story. And so many great things that he had to say about, just being the role of a cheerleader and being an ambassador, and it was really great talking to him. So, Bill, thank you for being our very first guest on our podcast. It was a blast.
Yeah. So now let's talk about everything that's happening in the cheerleading world right now. What else is going on? So a major topic right now is homecoming games. There's so many homecoming games going on right now, and all the different themes, and just seeing all the pictures. It's just so much fun.
And you just got back from a homecoming game, right?
Yes, I did. I went to Bama for the homecoming game, and it was so much fun. Not only getting to see the people that I cheered with, but the athletes that are there now, the athletes that were there before me, and just coming together and having just a luncheon together and getting to talk and meet those people, and it was a huge blast.
And the stadium's new, right? They made some upgrades?
Yes. So they actually just installed new lights around the top of the stadium for the run out. So when the team runs out, they have flashing crimson and white lights, and it just makes the whole run out and pregame just incredible. And so it definitely gets you hyped for the game. They're playing Thunderstruck, which is the song that the team runs out to, which that makes you get excited anyways. Uh-huh. So whenever they turned all the lights off, then they started flashing the crimson and white lights. It kind of brought tears to my eyes, because just being on that side of it, not being on the field and running out with the team, it was just an incredible experience. It was awesome.
It was odd to be a fan.
It was. And like I said, last year was definitely hard, because it was the first time that I got to experience a Bama game after being a cheerleader, but not being on the field. And so, like I said, I kind of shedded a tear the first time I watched it, but I wasn't a part of it. But it's getting easier, but it's so much fun getting to, watch the cheerleaders that are there now and experiencing what I did, and knowing, they're having the time of their lives. So it was definitely a cool experience.
I didn't get to make it back for homecoming this year, but I got to see all of the pictures. Morehead Coed actually had their ring ceremony.
Oh,
so
wow. That's exciting.
Yeah, they always had the ring ceremony at homecoming. So you get your rings like right before you kind of start your routine for
Definitely
the
gives you motivation.
season. And the rings that Coed got are beautiful, like the prettiest rings I think that have ever been given out at Morehead. So that was really exciting to see that. I'm so happy for them.
That's definitely an exciting time, and especially now, like they're about to start their practices for competition season. So getting that right before definitely gives you some motivation to do it all over again.
And speaking of competitions, they're here. Events have started.
They have started. It's here. It's time.
Yeah, I just got back from Kentucky. I was at the Uci Bluegrass Championship, which
your stomping grounds.
My stomping grounds, right? I have been attending bluegrass since 2007.
Wow,
I think.
That's a long time.
So competing, announcing, working it. So I missed last year, but to be back this year felt so good.
I bet.
Yeah, there's so much talent in Kentucky high school cheerleading. It is unreal. This year at Bluegrass alone, there was 6 reigning national champions.
Wow, 6.
Yeah.
That's a lot to be at one competition.
Yeah, so anything from middle school teams like Eastside and Houston to high school teams like McCracken. It was just so many good teams and like a really great start to competition season.
That's incredible.
Yeah, you've got some events coming up soon, right?
Yes, I actually leave today for UCA Dixie, which is in Jackson, Mississippi. So that's where it's kind of like your bluegrass. Mm-hmm. So I competed there in high school with West Lauderdale multiple times. And I'm just getting to go back and see the teams, like Live Oak competes there, Ocean Springs has. So just getting to go back and see some of those incredible, well-known teams, see my high school team. I'm really excited. I can't wait to see where they are so far this season.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see the teams on the mat for the first time.
Yeah. And so also with other things that we have going on, the final episode of Going for Gold came out recently. So if you haven't seen that yet, you should definitely check it out because this was one of the most amazing films I've ever seen. Like just getting to watch it, go back and see those experiences from the other side. It was so much fun.
For those of you that don't know, Going for Gold USA Coed followed the U.S. National Coed team on their journey to ICU this past year, where they won gold, and Millery was actually a part of the team. So what was it like? I know we were there with the cameras the whole time kind of experiencing it with you, but what was it like to see practice through our eyes?
It was so different because, like you said, y'all were there with the cameras, but whenever you're in your focused mindset and you're in practice, you don't think about it. But then being able to go back and watch that entire experience from a different perspective, it was so cool because it's like I watched one of the scenes and it was like I did not even know that happened, or I don't even remember that. Mm-hmm. But because everything's happening so fast. So if you haven't watched it, it's definitely something worth watching for sure. It was incredible. I loved it.
It was definitely one of my favorite projects that we've worked on in my time with Varsity TV. I love it. It was so much fun. But we've got another film coming out soon, right?
Yes, Davenport University. So it'll be Game On, Davenport University. And so we followed them at the Stunt Collegiate National Championship, and which was in Oklahoma. They also compete at NCAA Collegiate Nationals, but they are incredible. They are such a talented team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the first stunt championship that I'd ever been to. It was so different. It was so cool. And so we got to follow them through that, and they did incredible. So, and actually, the trailer comes out today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So so be sure to check that out for sure, and it's definitely going to be exciting. I can't wait.
And for those of you that don't know, stunt is the fastest growing female sport, and it kind of takes out the crowd leading element of cheerleading, so that you see on the sidelines, and it really focuses on the technical, like athletic components. Yeah. And there's 2 teams. They're on the mat at the same time doing the exact same routine. There's 4 quarters like a football game or a basketball game, and they go head to head competing the same routine, and points are awarded right then and there.
It's kind of nerve-wracking. It's like, wow, like this one point could determine the entire game.
So cool. I wish that there was stunt when I was in high school.
Oh, yeah,
so
for sure.
It's really cool, and I'm excited to see it grow, and I can't wait to see the film on it.
I know. I can't wait to see it all pulled together. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So...
Well, guys, that is a wrap. That is our first ever Varsity TV Sideline Report. We had so much fun, and I'm just happy that this is rolling.
Yeah, I know. Me too. Be sure to check us out each month and hear all the things cheer and dance that are happening. So, yeah.